careful study of the early scriptures, there were several stories that sort of stood out as being a little bit odd. And one of those was one day when a Brahmin, who was a priest, questioned the Buddha and said, "Who is it that the Buddha? Who is the Buddha? What is the Buddha?" And the Buddha said, "Well, who is it the people say that I am?" He said, "Well, some people say that you're a god. Are you a god?" And the Buddha replied, "No, Brahmin, I'm not a god." And so he said, "Well, are you a semi-divine being?" "No, I'm not a semi-divine being." "Are you an angel?" "No, I'm not an angel." And he went through this list of sort of spiritual beings, and even asking him if he was a demon. And the Buddha denied all of these, that he was any of these things. And finally the Brahmin said, "Well, are you a human being?" And the Buddha replied, "No, Brahmin, I'm not a human being." And the Brahmin asked, "Who then are you?" And the Buddha replied, "I am the Buddha, I am awake." And of course this is what Buddha means, because Buddha is a title, of course. It's not a name, it's a title. It means the awakened one. Comes from the verb bud, which means to be awake or to wake up. And so the question that begged really was, well, obviously this was being spoken by a man who had a physical flesh and blood body, but the one who was speaking actually came from somewhere else, somewhere beyond him. This is the transcendent. And so from this, in the early Mahayanists developed a doctrine where there were two bodies of the Buddha. There was the appearance body that was known as the Nirmanakaya, and then there was the true body of the Buddha that was known as the Dharmakaya. Kaya simply means body, and Dharmakaya simply means body of the Dharma. But this Dharmakaya was something that was regarded as unseen, completely other, completely transcendent. And it's rather perhaps in the same way when we talk about nature. Often when people talk about nature, when we talk about nature, we sort of think of, green trees and flowers and woods and rivers and things like that. We think of actual physical things as sort of representing nature, but when we talk about the nature of something, then actually we're talking about something that's immaterial. So if we're referring to, for example, well, people talk about Mother Nature, they're not actually talking about a physical woman. Obviously, it's a reference to the principles upon which the manifest nature is seen. So now we have these two things. We've got nature manifest, which is the trees and the rivers and so forth, and the birds and so forth. And then there's the nature, or the principles upon which all those manifest things depend. So when we talk about the nature of a dog, for example, we're talking about its behavior, what it looks like and so forth, but there's something not quite graspable. It's something immaterial. When we say the nature of something, we're saying that something stands behind that, and that what we see arises from or out of those principles. And these two bodies of the Buddha work in a similar fashion. So there is the Buddha who came and preached, lived and died and became awakened. And then there is the principle of Buddha, and the Dharmakaya refers to this principle. And sometimes, in fact, the Buddha nature itself, when we talk about all beings having the inherent Buddha nature, sometimes it's referred to in the Zen text as the principle or the great principle. Then if we see that term, then we know it's referring to the Buddha nature. And this is what Master Rinzai is also referring to here. There is that sense of the Buddha, but actually who has no shape. And the Dharma, because the Dharma, if we remember, can mean the teachings of the Buddha Dharma, but it can also mean the inherent law, or again the inherent principle of all things. And if we path, the great way, leading to Buddhahood, means to realize things as they truly are. The Buddha's insight was simply put, to see things as they really are. And what that means is to actually see that principle that's immaterial, that's behind the manifest, i.e. not to be carried away with objects, with what's in Chinese is known as the 10,000 things, but to actually be aware of the principle that lay behind those things. And of course, now I think, oh well, this is definitely something I want to see. It's a great mystery. It's the great unknown, some great occult and esoteric thing, which quite literally it is occult because it's hidden, and it's esoteric because it's unknown, and it appears to be a great secret, and is a great secret, but not a secret in the sense that I normally think that it is. Normally I think that a great secret is something that is intentionally being withheld from me, and if I can get into the inner circle, then that secret can be revealed to me. But it's not that type of secret. It's secret only in as much as I don't realize it, not because it's hidden. It's actually not hidden. The principle is always there. And again, there's another saying from the text that says, whether or not Buddhas and sages arise in this world, the true nature of things, that principle, the Buddha nature, the true nature of things is ever present. In other words, it's not hidden, ever. We live out of it, we encounter it every single day. Again, the great master Hakuin said, the peasant uses it every day, but sadly is not aware of it. And again, Hakuin says in his poem, The Song of Realization, pitifully in the midst of water, crying out from thirst. And all these phrases, all these idioms, all these metaphors refer to the fact that actually the true nature is ever present, but simply because of our sticky attachments, because of the fact that we are deluded, we cannot see straight, we cannot see what is before our eyes. And so